This is The Cyclist, the podcast that finally talks about your reproductive health the way your group chat does. No awkward silence, no sugarcoating, just the real, messy, holy shit, why did nobody tell me this convos about your body. I'm Jess Quinn.
And I'm Catherine Douglas. We've been where you are, confused, dismissed, and left figuring it all out on our own. So, we're gathering the information we wish we had. We are The Cyclist.
Your cycle decoded. Hello everyone, welcome back to The Cyclist. It's Jess here. In case you can't tell by my voice, I do have a chest infection, so I sound a little nasally, but I really didn't want to cancel this interview and I'm feeling fine. I just sound terrible, so I'm very sorry if that's kind of off-putting to listen to, but I promise this episode is absolutely worth it. We have Danni Duncan on the show today, which I am so excited for. We've had this booked in for a while, and I think it's just such a different conversation than what we've had. And while it's not directly women's health, Danni speaks about being child-free and her choice around that and has built an incredible community all around that and is currently building a business as well. While it's not directly women's health related, we also want to make sure The Cyclist is a really inclusive space, and there might be some of you out there who are also choosing to be child-free, and we thought this might give you a little bit of inspiration, someone to look up to, someone to listen to into how that journey has looked for them. I'm also aware that a lot of you will have women's health conditions that are making you question whether kids are something that you want or whether kids are something that you can have. And so we thought by sharing this, it might just, I don't know, offer a different perspective for people and hopefully some hope or excitement around another path and what that could look like. We also speak first about Danni's experience with acne. She's had severe acne for a really long time, and I really want to talk to her about that because that's something we haven't touched on too much on the show. And I know so many people struggle with this. I struggled with it a little bit in my early 20s when my gut health went bad, and honestly, I think it'll be really helpful for so many of you to listen. So we can't wait. Make sure you follow us wherever you listen and review because it helps us reach so many other women, but let's get into it. This episode of The Cyclist is brought to you by Cadence, a women's health supplement range designed with your unique cadence in mind. 6 products backed by science and built by women for women, covering everything from cycle and gut health to blood sugar balance, hydration, and head tension. Kat and I built Cadence because we needed it ourselves, and we think you might find it helpful too. Head to cadencewellbeing.com to find your rhythm. Hi, Danni.
Hello.
Welcome to The Cyclist.
So exciting to be here. I'm so glad I get to come and do this in person.
I know. We were just saying how nice it is doing things in person.
Yeah.
And when we said hi, I was like, I've met you 500 times, right? But I think we've just realized we haven't
I don't
met
actually
each
think
other,
I have met you in person.
which is so weird.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we've hung out all the time.
I know,
Like,
it's weird.
Social media
We've talked a lot.
We've
yeah.
talked a lot. Social media is so odd. I'm so excited to dive in this conversation. I've already said in the intro we're going to touch on your acne journey, but also mostly around child-free because I think there's so much to unpack there. We like to start with a question, which is, what have you demystified about your body as an adult that you wish you knew when you were younger?
I think it's very topical, but I have definitely now embraced the idea of being strong rather than being skinny. So growing up, people always commented on how skinny I was. And so I very much kind of had an identity around like, I'm skinny, try stay skinny. And yeah, in my adulthood, I just have completely flipped the script. And now I'm like, I just want to be strong. And whatever my body looks like is strong. Like, I'm definitely a lot bigger than I used to be. Like, I'm still a relatively small human, but I'm not afraid of seeing my body change because, yeah, it's okay to be bigger and strong or smaller and strong. Yeah, so
I love that answer.
Yeah.
That's so cool because you're really into your, like, you've done high rocks and you're into
Yeah,
your
I work out
training.
a lot.
You work out a lot, yeah. That's so cool. Take us back to the beginning in terms of your skin. When did you first, like, when did that become something you first started struggling with?
As soon as the hormones kicked in. Yeah. So to be honest, it was quite traumatic. Like, it was through being a teenager. I just remember, the moments that I remember are things like locking myself in the bathrooms at school, texting my mum, being like, I want to come home, because I was just so embarrassed to be seen. I had acne all over my skin, on my face, sorry. And things like, I was very much a tomboy, so I didn't wear makeup, I didn't wear skirts and anything, but all of a sudden I was like, I need makeup to cover it, things like that, and just feeling a lot of shame around the fact that the thing that people were looking at when they were talking to me was the thing that I was feeling a lot of shame around. And people would say, oh, no one even notices. But I was like, of course they notice. It's right there. So, yeah, as in my teenage years when I was at high school, I don't know when it first kind of kicked in, but probably when my hormones did.
Yes, 100%, which is so rough, as you say, like when you're that young and you're already dealing with so many other like body image things.
Yeah.
It's so tough. And it's why I really wanted to speak about it in the podcast, because so many people have struggled with acne then, but also like adult acne. And like I'm really lucky. I've been reasonably lucky with my skin, but I definitely get it hormonally, like whenever I'm pregnant and my skin just like I get full acne. And then I had it really bad when my gut went out of whack in my 20s. And that was the first time, because I was lucky as a teenager, I didn't have anything, had experienced it. And I'm someone like one pimple later, just my confidence gets knocked, which is so weird as someone who lives in like a vastly different body and is like reasonably confident about that. I'm like, why does a pimple impact me so much? But it just does, right? Like it's so strange.
We grew up, it's better now, but I think we definitely grew up with the like all the ads around, I can't even remember what the products were called, but it was very much around getting rid of your acne and like the one pimple that they'd be like, this is how to get rid of it. And so all the messaging was having acne is not normal, it's bad, it's ugly, this is how to get rid of it. So of course it makes sense, even if you just get one, to be like, I'm ashamed of this.
Yeah, so true. And did you start trying to figure out quite quickly how you could control it or minimize it or get rid of it? Or did you kind of just sit in it?
So I went on, I can't even remember what specific one it was, but I went on, what's it called?
The contraceptive pill?
Contraceptive pill, yeah.
One of the Yasmins or the girly names.
I think it was
that
like
they are.
Jeanette something.
It's so funny to like these 90s girls' names.
Yeah, so I wasn't sexually active, but I was on contraception, and that didn't work perfectly, but it definitely helped reduce it. And then I think I went through a period where it really was working for me in terms of I felt quite confident and was never completely gone, but enough that I felt better. And then I can't really remember the time period, but at some point I thought I want to get off contraceptive pill, because I think there was now starting to get a lot of messaging around like, is it healthy for you? All of those kinds of things. Even like mental health, my mental health wasn't great. So I came off it to get another form of contraception, and then it just, so I would have probably been early 20s, and that's when it really ramped up. And my adult acne, it went from like little spots to like cystic, just horrible. I don't even have photos from that time because I hated it. And yeah, that was horrible. Then I did the Roaccutane twice, I think. I was on quite a low dose. Again, it worked until I finished and came off it, and then it came back. So I've never actually worked out what causes my acne, because there's so many different things. I think for me, stress is a big one. So I was in a toxic relationship when it was probably at its worst. And then when I left that relationship, that's when I really started to notice a change that was more prolonged. It's still been very up and down. Today, it's great.
I was going to say, looking at you, you have flawless skin, and I would not even know that you'd struggle with acne.
So today, like for the last, I would say, year, it's been quite steady. There's still little moments where I'm like, freak out that it's like, if I get one pimple, I freak out. Still, I'm still like, is it going to flare up? Is it going to be
like
bad?
Traumatic for you, probably.
Yeah. And this is the thing, is I don't know what's helped it stay consistently at a place that it's at now. I actually don't know, because it could be makeup, but I didn't intentionally change anything. It could be less stress, but I'm still a pretty stressed person. I think probably it is to do with how happy I am in my body, and because, you know, they say the body keeps the score and all of that. So yeah, I just don't know what helped, which is so frustrating for people that have been through a journey or want to get their skin to a place where they feel more confident. And there's so many different things that can help. I'm not in any medication for it. I think skincare actually has helped a lot, which a lot of people say, oh, skincare, like you got to work on the inside, which I do believe. But I was using so many different like topical creams, blah, blah, blah. And now my routine is relatively simple. Like I don't use a retinol. I use one kind of medicated cream. That's it. And everything else is just like hydration, try to drink more water, which I really need to do more of. It's been. I can't even remember what your question was, but it's been a big journey.
I do worry. I was talking about this with someone. I think it was one of our experts on the podcast. I can't remember. Oh yeah, we had the founder of Aleph Beauty.
Oh yeah.
I always mispronounce it. And we were speaking about this, and I almost worry now because skincare has become such a trend that everyone's just buying the next thing. Like Rhode's come out, everyone's buying it.
Yeah.
And it's not good, not Rhode particularly, but not every skincare is good for everyone's skin.
Yeah.
Like not everyone can just walk into Mecca and just like put all the products on, and like we're almost like overwhelming our skin. I can imagine that would be
because a lot of people talk about retinols as being really good for people who've had acne. I can't use it. Like I've tried every single one that people are like, this is really helpful, and my skin I know that you naturally do purge a little bit, but I just think my skin is so much better when I don't use it. So yeah, not every product is meant for every skin, and for me personally, it's simplifying everything and just focusing on hydration that's helped. But yeah, I wouldn't say that that's what's fixed it though.
Yes,
I don't know what fixed it.
As you say, like inner work, body, happiness, and then also like age does change our hormones. Our hormones are consistently changing as we get older. So it's,
I do remember when I was a teenager, people would say, it will get better as you get older, it will get better as you're older. And I still had it in my early 30s. So I was like, at what point is it older equaling better? So I used to find that really frustrating. And I do think potentially age has helped. And I don't know what's going to happen when I go through perimenopause. Like, is it going to come back again?
Yes.
So I think my mental health tied with how I physically look with my skin, I've really had to work on. And even when I still get days where I get little flare-ups, under my makeup I still have a little bit of scarring as well, and I've had to work really hard at being confident so I go to the gym in the morning at not wearing makeup when I go to the gym, which again, wearing makeup when you're sweating and all of that doesn't even help. So yeah, I've really had to work on my mental health and getting to a place where, to be honest, I still get embarrassed and I still find it hard when it happens. But just, having a bit more positive self-talk and reminding myself that even though I wouldn't say it's normal in the sense that so many people have it, I think connecting with other people online and seeing other real skin online that's got scarring, that's got pimples, that's really helped me. And also, I personally find it helpful if I feel like I'm actively doing something about it. So for me, I just use one cream that's my kind of like acne cream. I don't even know if it helps, but mentally it helps.
Yes,
yeah,
100%. I so agree with you on like skin textures, like online, like even when you see a celebrity and it's not 100%. Been photoshopped, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because even I get into this, like I've not had Botox or any of these kind of things done, and I'm like, well, should I start to be doing these things? Because all of a sudden my face is sagging and no one else around me is. Which like doing Botox is totally fine if that's your choice, but like then you see these celebrities, like we're just around this, and now with AI, right? Like we just don't know what's real and what's not. It's so hard to not compare yourself to something that might or might not be real or has access to other things,
100%. Even with my followers, they will say to me like, oh my gosh, your skin looks amazing. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm actually presenting myself in a way that I can make it look amazing. And so then I will show like, okay, yeah, it does look amazing in this perfect lighting that I chose to be in front of a window at this angle. And then if you show like me in the shadows up close and then you realize, oh, it's actually not this, what we make it to appear to be online. And so that's something that I definitely want to tell people is what you see online, it is real, but it's real in a way that you can set it up to look really good.
Lighting can change a lot.
100%.
It's wild. Like anyone at home, stand in front of a window and take a photo and then stand not in front of a window. Like the difference in your face is
huge.
Wild.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will relate. I had a friend, I think it was, or I've heard this online a lot, but adult acne can be really hard to come to terms with, I think, because for so many people they were like, oh, this is just a teenage thing, I'll be off through it. And then when you still have it in adulthood or you get it in adulthood, I imagine it can be quite confronting to like
100%.
wrap your head around. I wanted to jump into talking about Childfree.
Yeah.
There's many reasons that I wanted to chat about this. A, because I just think we have a community of women who from different backgrounds who probably have different thoughts going through their head, and I like to make sure everyone has something for them, right? Like we're not all picking the same path.
Yeah.
And I really like that you are showing a path that's really different and shouldn't be shouldn't be different, but is
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes like different from what other people have considered to be the path that they're going to go on. And also I'm very aware in our community we have a lot of people going through women's health issues, and they might be questioning whether they want to have children or whether they can have children. And so I just thought the community you've built is incredible, and clearly hundreds of thousands of people are finding similarities in their journey with yours, which shows how common being child-free is. So I really just wanted to chat about it. I have a very short list of questions, but mostly because I just want to chat with you about it opposed to read questions. But my first question is, was being child-free something you always knew? What's the path looked like to making that decision?
No. So I always thought I was going to be a mum, not because I've now realised looking back, I don't think I actively wanted to be a mum. The most that I did was maybe write a little list of kids' names. That was the most I'd pictured. I didn't really envision myself in a mum role. In saying that, I really, really love kids. And in my previous career, I worked with kids. I've always been the one, if there's a group gathering, I'll be the one hanging out with the kids. Like that's just how I've always been. So I naturally thought, oh, I love kids, therefore I'm probably going to be a mum. And then my husband and I got married, and naturally you start thinking, okay, when are we going to have kids? So I would have been 30, and we just kept saying not yet, later. And then that turned into, okay, we're now starting to think about the milestones of life, like buying a house, etc. And we also weren't living in Christchurch at the time, so we were away from home. So I really started thinking about, when are all these things going to happen? And the more I thought seriously about it, like, okay, we're actually making decisions now, I realized do I actually want to be a mum? Because that changes a lot. I mean, it changes so much of your day-to-day, your responsibilities, your priorities, finances, everything is impacted. So I was now starting to think about it in practical terms. And I just all of a sudden realized I don't actually know if I want to do this. And that started, I would say, a 2-year journey of me being on the fence and me seriously, just constantly having thoughts of, is this the right choice? What if I regret it? What's my future going to look like if I don't have kids? Just any thought you can think of crossed my mind constantly. And I found it really isolating and really overwhelming. And I almost felt like I couldn't move forward in my life because I didn't, there was 2 paths and I was just stuck. And then, I started sharing online because I didn't know anyone else. There's no one else in my life that was choosing not to have children or had chosen that. So I started sharing online just as a way to connect, and the response was huge. Just so many people either in the same boat as me, being on the fence, or had decided but didn't have anyone to connect with over it, or couldn't have children, just kind of every kind of experience of not having kids people were talking to me about. And that was really cool to feel like I wasn't alone, and also feel quite validated that it's okay if you don't want to have kids. And that was quite reassuring to me, and that definitely helped me become more sure in my decision, knowing that, okay, I'm not the only one. It's actually relatively normal that people feel this way. And I would say 2 years. So I would have been about 33. I'm just about to turn 36 when I really was like, okay, I don't want to have children. And I just kind of kept talking about it online because there was a huge demand for it. And I still to this day get so many DMs of like, what about this? Like, how did you talk about it with your husband? And have you thought about this? So there's just so many different aspects to not having children that we can talk about. And at the time, there wasn't any space really to do it. And now there's lots of people talking about it, which is really cool.
And I think seeing it as such a positive thing, whereas I think like back in the day, as they painted every minority, if you like, is like this negative thing. Like it's always like, oh, the poor auntie that never like met someone so couldn't have children, or had some medical condition that meant she could. It was always this negative thing, whereas like you really made it. Like sometimes I look at your content, I'm like, that looks fun. It's like
I would still say the same thing.
I also like so admire your maturity and like taking your time on these decisions, because like admittedly, like I've always wanted kids, and it's something I considered for a long time as someone with a disability. I was like, is this gonna be the path for me? Because I know I'm going to struggle. I know I'm going to have to lean on a village way more than most people have to. And is that the life I want for me to like struggle even more? And for us, it was, I think, it's still just something I'll never know, right? Because I'm not going to now know life without being, without having kids and without being a mum. But I do think it's cool that you really took the time to consider it. Like, I think in this day and age, we're just quick to be like, oh, but Sally Joe bought a house, so I'm going to buy a house now. And then this person had a kid, so of course I'm going to get. I got married now. It's like we just like jump on to the next thing, like consistently without actually stopping and thinking like, what do I want and what do I want my future to look like? So I think that's what I admire so much about the space you've created is like, it's also giving people that like moment, like take a breath, consider your life. Like I loved how Laura Henshaw unpacked her whole journey, whether she wanted or didn't want kids and obviously landed on wanting them. But the fact that she took that time, it made me realize both you and her journey that I don't think I've ever stopped and really taken the time to actually consider like, what do I want in this moment opposed to just like the next thing to do, so you should 100%. Do it.
Yeah.
How have the people closest, or did they at the beginning, responded to you, the people closest to you responded around not having children?
I was so lucky because I know that this is not everyone's experience, but my two sisters are my best friends and they are both mums. The middle one, she hadn't had children yet, but they're both mums. And then obviously my mum, I'm quite close to. And my best friend also is a mum. And so all four of them were so supportive and I'm so lucky. I would say that sometimes mum would say things like, oh, it's okay to change your mind, which at the time I felt a little bit dismissive in the sense that I felt like she thought that having kids was like, it's okay to change your mind and like, do this.
Push you towards that path.
Yeah, but I think that's also a generational thing. And 100%. Now she would never say that to me. Like she fully understands my choice. The more I've talked about it, the more she sees like the life I'm living, the choices I'm making. She would never say that now because she understands more now. And I've never held that against her because as you often don't know how to respond to new ideas. So yeah, I've been really lucky with my personal life and almost everybody understanding and being supportive. I would say there's some people that I still feel like don't quite get it and I have distanced myself from them because maybe they'll never understand and I just kind of got to be okay with that. But most people really, really supportive. Yeah.
That makes me really happy. And based on you saying, I know this isn't a common experience or whatever you refer to, have you found within the communities and people that you've spoken to that some people have been met with the opposite?
Yeah, so a lot of people's parents putting a lot of pressure on them, especially if they don't have any kids in their family yet, like any grandkids. And even just like in the workplace or in friendship groups, people just not getting it. I spoke with a girl yesterday who, and I don't want to like name her in any way, but she shared a really hurtful experience where she felt like the friendship group saw her as being the problem as to why her husband wasn't having children, and they were saying like he'd be a really good dad, like you're taking this away from him. And she's like, hold on a second, like we're adults, we've talked about this, he also doesn't want kids. And she just felt like they made it her problem, which was quite hurtful. I hear situations like that a lot. So many different situations where people feel really like they're not understood, which I think as adults we all want to be understood. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for someone who's at home, maybe have decided they don't want to have kids but are nervous to bring it up with their family or friends, like and thinking like, or if that's the response they're going to get? Any advice for people like that?
I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot because I still find it hard when and it's not with my personal people in my personal life, but I still find it hard when I meet someone new and they ask what I do for work or they ask if I have kids or whatever, and I say, oh no, I'm child-free, because I don't know what understanding they have of what child-free means, and a lot of people still have a lot of negative ideas around that of who the child-free woman is. And so I fully understand that fear of they're not going to get it, they're going to think I'm a bad person, they're going to try pressure me. So firstly, I think it's normal to feel worry of what other people are going to perceive you as. That's still something I'm really working on. I think the thing that has helped me the most in sharing about what I want with the people that I care about and that I want to accept me is knowing that even when they don't get it, and there will be things that people don't understand, is that I have I have community that do get it. And that's why I think, being part of a friendship group or an online community, or just having people that understand your choice without you having to explain it, actually makes the times where people don't get it a lot easier, because you're like, okay, they don't get it, and you have to get to a place of acceptance with that. But I do have people that get me. And so, I think having a shared understanding with people that you don't have to explain yourself has helped me personally a lot. So I guess there's no real advice about how to broach those subjects with people like your family, your parents. I think it's situational.
So situational, yeah.
But having that support behind you, like connecting in some way with the Childfree community, can be really helpful.
I really like that. I think, I can imagine that will help so many people, which I guess leads me to my next thing is you've just started. I mean, you've had your online community for a long time, but you've kind of started it in an official capacity. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, so I launched the Others Club, and the Others Club isn't only for child-free by choice people. So the Others Club, I named it kind of for anyone who doesn't fit into parenting. So is an other, and it's for people that are choosing it actively because they don't want to have children. It's for people that can't have children, and are kind of, been through an infertility journey and are embracing a life that they didn't necessarily want at first, but now they're embracing it. It's for people that are on the fence, that have questions, that are just not sure. It's also for people that there's a lot of women that are stepmoms, and they don't quite identify with being in the mum world, but they also, kind of don't fit in the child-free by choice, in the sense that they do have kids in their lives. We got heaps of people like that. And then even like, it's really sad, but there's people that had one child and they've lost that child, or they're not connected with that child. That child is not, in their lives. So there's a huge array of people that the Others Club is for. So it's an online community, and we have our own platform, which just launched 2 months ago. And the idea behind it is you join, you put your location in it, and it connects you with people in your area. And then hopefully somebody in that area, or even if you join and you want to do it, you create a meetup and then you attend meetups. So we've got meetups. Since we started, we've had, I would say it's coming up to 200 meetups listed, like just within 2 months across the world. So we're in New Zealand and Australia mainly, like that's where the most people are, but also in the US, UK, EU, and it's really cool. So we've got the meetups in real life, which is, the most beautiful thing, that people are actually making friends in real life. And then also there's what we call the library, and in the library is a whole bunch of different, you can create your own topics under different headings. So say you want to vent about something, like my mum's pressuring me to have kids, blah, blah, blah. And then you want to connect with someone over that. And people are so responsive. As soon as someone puts something up, someone will jump in and be like, I've been through this, blah, blah, blah. There's spaces if you're, say, solo and child-free, which is quite different to being in a couple and child-free.
True.
There's even just things for like connecting over hobbies. Those, the video games one, people, that's like huge, which I'm not into that at all. But heaps of people talking about that. There's a book club. There's just any space you can think of that you'd want to connect with somebody. And it doesn't have to be about not having kids. It's just having that shared understanding that we're on a similar-ish path. And I don't have to explain myself or defend myself. No one's going to pressure me. No one's going to ask me if I have kids, because obviously I don't. I'm part of the Others Club. So, it's just it's become, it's still new, and we're still iterating and making lots of changes. But it's been a really cool start. I've been so overwhelmed by how just quickly people have jumped on board.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
It's so cool. It kind of reminds me of when I joined Antenatal, in the sense that you have these meetups and you have these people that you connect with who are strangers, but you have this shared thing. And when you were saying that, it got me thinking, because people who are child-free obviously don't get that opportunity to make those kind of friendships, which is so cool. So it's kind of like the opposite of that, but a similar thing at a similar stage of life. Because I remember, like, I was at a point in my life when I had kids where I was ready to, like, meet new people, but it's so hard to meet people as an adult, and I knew that would come in my life when I had children. So if you're not having children, I could imagine there's this like, okay, but how am I meeting people? Which is so cool.
And I think for a lot, especially women, depending on what city you live in, but a lot of women end up being the only one out of their friendship group that's not having children. And so all of your friends have obviously a huge lifestyle and all of these things that they can connect over. Like my sisters connect over stuff that I'm like, I have no idea what that means, but cool.
Cool for you guys.
Yeah. And so they have this thing that they can connect over, which obviously is a life-changing thing. And you're kind of like removed from that. Like you're part of it. They still welcome you to things and they still talk to you about those things, but you feel a bit removed and that can feel quite isolating. And so I think a huge thing for people is they still want those friendship groups and they still, you know, my sisters are still my best friends, but I now have 2 other friends who are child-free. And so it's just made life feel so much richer because I have my child-free friends who we connect over different things, and then I have my sisters and we connect over different things. So I think, yeah, friendships it's probably the stickiest point of being child-free, and it's the thing that kind of, there's a lot of tension there. Whenever I talk about it online, there's so much tension and there's so much like, you don't get it and you don't get it. And a lot of people call it divisive. And I've actually been working with my therapist about it, that regardless if we talk about it or not, there is a gap. Like there is a gap where child-free people feel like they're alone, and whether we talk about it or not, it's still going to exist. So we might as well talk about it and help all of these people make friends. Yeah.
I completely agree. And I think I've seen you speak online about this. And I think we spoke about it briefly with Ellie the other day on the podcast as well. But this thing where, because you're the only one without children in your friend group, you're expected to be like the flexible one.
Yeah,
and like probably, mucked around a bit and like expected to, I don't know, last minute plans and just adapt to the lifestyle of a mum, which I can see where that comes from as a person who's got a kid, because your time is just obviously so limited, but then it feels so disrespectful for the person who doesn't have a kid because your time is also just different, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got other things that are keeping you busy. Like it doesn't make it less valuable. Yeah. How have you experienced that in your community? Like, is that something that comes up a bit? Like, do you find
it does. I think that a lot of times people without kids do feel like they're the one that's expected to kind of slot in everywhere. And for a lot of people, it leaves them feeling like, okay, but I have things that are important, and you know, I have achievements or things that are difficult, or you know, the classic, like, you don't know what tired is. And there's a lot of child-free people who have different reasons why they're really tired, either it's physical, whatever. And so a lot of child-free people do feel like it's just that thing of not being seen. And so I do talk about that a lot. And again, it's another piece of content that just gets there's quite a lot of tension over it, because, I think child-free people, they don't want to take anything away from parents. It's not we don't want you to be loved and cared for. We don't want to not support you. But also, child-free people need to be supported too. They're still humans. They've still got stuff going on in their lives. You know, maybe sometimes you do need to see that, you know, your child-free friend is going through something and making the time for them and seeing them. And of course, it's going to look different than it did before when you both didn't have kids. No one's arguing that. But really seeing that your child-free friend also has responsibilities and a life and a reason to look out for and care for them. And I think the only way that's going to happen, and, you know, both people be valued and seen and cared for, is we talk about it.
100%.
And so we just have to talk about it. And, you know, people try and, I guess, silence me, like, you're creating division. I'm like, I'm not. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to bring to light things that are happening regardless if we talk about it or not. So we might as well talk about it, and it might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but in the long run, communication is how healthy relationships work. So, yeah.
And because I imagine there's like the kids' birthday parties, the baby showers, like all these things that you're expected to celebrate, but then like who's celebrating you? Because in the like life can get busy when you've got a kid, but in people's eyes they might not see your achievements as much, but like those are like huge. Like once you have a kid, it all just seems to become about the kid, but it still needs to be about you
and
too.
I think because I talk about it so much, my sister's my best friend, they are because I talk about it, they're aware of it, and I notice that they show up for me so much, like
so cool.
And intentionally, you know, my best friend, she'd be like, okay, these are the times I can meet up when I'm not going to have the kids. So she's just so aware that if the kids are there, her time's going to be a little bit more on them, which I totally understand. Yes. So she's like, okay, these are the times when I can meet up without the kids. And sometimes I'll be like, oh, no, I want to see the kids, like bring them. So I think they're just super aware of it now because I talk about it. And if I hadn't have talked about it, they wouldn't have been aware of it, and I probably would have been feeling bitter about it. So you might as well talk about it.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's just having that like mutual understanding of like, because you'll not know what it feels like to be a parent, and then they won't know what it feels like to be child free. So it's like if you both speak about your experiences, then you can meet each other where you're at.
Yeah, totally.
Whereas like if we all just, as you say, get resentful and bottle it up, it just kind of. Oh. I wanted to touch on, just because I imagine you've got some insight on this from your community. There's obviously a difference in how people get to being child-free. Some people are child-free by choice. Some people are child-free by circumstance, whether that's medical conditions or whatever it might be. How do you hold space for both of those experiences when the life they're living is probably the same or similar, but the reason they got there is different, and maybe their desire for that life might not be the same?
Yeah. I am super mindful of this in the language that we use and the way that we talk about mothers and children. I think a lot of child-free spaces, like on Reddit, even on social media, get really toxic really fast. And it's almost like child-free people feel like they need to like push against that and almost go the complete opposite direction, which is not, I've never been like that. I mean, as I said, my best friends have kids. Why the heck would I be like that? I respect them and their children so much. And so because there are women that wanted to have children and can't, being mindful of language I think is really important. And so even just I find it even hard to say this word, but I hate the word breeder, like and that gets flown around a lot in the child-free community, and I just made it a real point, you're not allowed to say that word. Like there's words that you cannot use. And then there's also the thing of, you know, like a lot of, especially on Reddit, there's just a lot of hate and just you know, I hate kids, which I'm like, it's totally okay if you are a person that finds being around kids overwhelming and you prefer not to be and all of that. But I don't have any time for people hating on children. I'm like, no, that's not my community that I'm part of. So I think language is a huge thing. I'm very mindful of that. I try to, I guess I can't control it, but I try to. I think I've created a culture in the Others Club and with my community that they understand that and they get that. And so when I see conversations happening inside the platform, one other thing is the platform is membership only. You've got to pay to be part of it. And I think people have got a little bit annoyed with me for that, but I'm like, it's so intentional because you know every person there is paying to be there, and it's such a beautiful, I cannot describe how supportive, respectful. We have so many different people with different paths, and every conversation I have that I see is just so respectful of each other's journey. And I think it's a cultural thing, which I'm really proud that I developed that culture with our community. And I don't actually know, I can't pinpoint how I did it, but I just did. It's happened. So yeah, I think it's being mindful that everyone is now on a similar path in terms of what their life might look like. They got there in different ways, and it's just being mindful of it and how you talk and how you speak about children and mothers. And yeah, I think it's just being mindful. Yeah.
I like that, because I imagine there'll be people in your community who might have like gone through some pregnancies and lost children
100%.
or had multiple miscarriages and then have either decided or circumstantially aren't having children anymore. And so like their identity around whether they're a mum or not, even though they don't have a child, earthside, like must be a really hard thing to come to terms with. But I imagine because you've got these meetups, that I imagine there'll be meetups of people who are probably in a similar, you know, like they have wanted children but don't have children, because they're probably having different conversations than people who have just always not wanted children or landed on that decision.
And we have a whole section that is for child-free, not by choice.
Oh, cool.
And so there's a whole bunch of different conversations going on in that section of the platform where they're connecting specifically about that thing. But then also a lot of our meetups, it's so interesting. I think people think our meetups, like we meet up and we talk about it constantly. Most of the meetups, I imagine people aren't even talking about whether they have kids just or
life
not.
And hobbies.
It's just like, I mean, we talked about, I had a meetup last night. We had a dinner. We only talked about it at the very end. Most of the night was just, I think the really cool thing about the meetups is we meet up, and normally when you're a mum, when you're a woman, the first question is, do you have kids?
Yes,
and it's so nice being able to go to an event with, you know, there was 12 of us women there last night, and no one's going to ask you that. And so then you don't have to have the awkward conversations or like, what are they going to think of me? And the first questions are normally around like hobbies and what do you like doing? And so you immediately get to connect over that. So the Others Club is about this journey of not having children, but it's also just about finding friends that share similar interests. And
I weirdly have FOMO. Like, do you know what I think it is? I think because once you become a mum, all of your conversations are about
100%.
children. And and most of my friends have children. And so we're catching up and we're talking about our sleep routines and we're talking about the foods they like and we're talking about the tantrums, right? But then I'm like, in that situation, like I guess that this is all just coming to my head as I'm speaking right now. I think I just had like an epiphany. But you kind of do lose yourself a little bit, and I can understand where people say they lose themselves in motherhood, which I hadn't realized until the second, because you don't often have those chances to have conversations that aren't about the kids. And like, don't get me wrong, my sisters are also my best friends, but they've got kids and they're the cousins to my kids, so we're constantly just talking about it, and like it lights me up to speak about my own child.
You have that shared identity and shared
100%.
Which is interesting, because if me and you were to go out for coffee, because I don't have kids, I wouldn't be asking you about that. I'd be like, okay, tell me about your business. How did you get here? Like, I'm more interested in that side of you. And
100%.
and I think I do get a lot of mums say like, I want child-free friends too. And I'm like, hey, I get it.
So I want child-free friends.
Yeah, because I think, and that's another thing about motherhood, which is so hard for mothers, is that often they're not seen as anything beyond that word mum, which has to change. And I'm like, I think the child-free community can help with that, because we're showing that women, whether you have kids or not, you're more than that word mum. Like, everyone has so many interesting things about them.
100%. And that's not something I ever thought that I felt. I mean, I only have a 2-year-old, so I'm still early in my motherhood journey. But I think because I also, like, I'm constantly sharing my life and my business, and I do have so many other things going on. But at the same time, if I really look at the conversations I have, so many of them are about motherhood or my child, which is amazing. But I do feel like, just from what you're talking about with your dinners, I'm missing out on being asked about what are my hobbies. And because I couldn't bloody tell you what my hobbies are right now. I have zero time to do them between work and Marla. But if someone was to ask me, then it would challenge that side of my brain that I think is slowly shutting down. And so I feel really inspired by you and what you've created, and maybe there could be a section in the Others Club for the mothers who wanting child-free
People have
friends.
asked me, they're like, can I join for that reason?
Can I pretend they don't have a kid?
Yeah, maybe there's an offshoot somewhere.
And I think that's where you've hit the nail. I think there might be, but because I think as women in our age anyway, it's so hard to make friends as adults, whether you're child-free or not. It is so hard to make friends, and I imagine being child-free, it's hard to make friends, but then being a mum, it's not as hard to meet people, but it's hard to connect on a level that's not about children. So therefore we just lose this part of ourselves of like imagine if someone asked me what my hobbies are. I would malfunction, but at least it would get me thinking, which is so cool. Anyway, I just have big FOMO, but I'm also an introvert who just wants to crawl in bed at night and not go out and talk to people. So best of both worlds at times. What do you think, or what would you hope the conversation around child-free looks like in 10 years?
I just want it to be not as intense. Every time I bring it up, if it's a part of the conversation that's quite gritty or uncomfortable, it requires so much energy and this feeling of I need to defend my choice, or I need to show that I'm a good person, or I need to. I think people still put child-free people in a box, and that box, unfortunately, has a lot of stigma and a lot of a negative kind of connotation. And I want that to change. I think a lot of people think being child-free is luxury, have all the money, have all the time, which for sure some people, but most child-free people I've met just have very normal, quiet lives. A lot of people are not having children because they can't afford to. Life is really hard. Most child-free people are just living life like anybody else, trying to survive. So I think it's also changing that narrative that most child-free people aren't on jets going away on holidays all the time. Yeah, they're just normal people. So also kind of changing that. There's so many different experiences of why people don't have kids. It's not that I hate kids, I want to travel, which often is portrayed in media, and it's often the thing that people talk about. I just responded to an article where that's kind of, they saw one person, obviously talking about living a luxurious life being child-free, and so they grouped all child-free people into that, which I'm like, no, that is not who we are. Some people, yes, and good for them. Like, if you can afford to do that, respect, and please show me. Like,
and invite me.
Please do the full vlog because I want to live through you. But
100%.
yeah, that's not most people's experience.
I think that's such an important reminder. I mean, it's the same as being a mum. Like, some people are outliving a luxurious life because they've got all the money in the world and access to everything and all the abilities in the world, which is what I get jealous of. You know, like, everyone's got their things, and so it's like we're all just humans. There's like scales to it all.
With I think because people very much understand that motherhood there's so many different ways of what motherhood can look like and experiences and challenges. And I think we haven't got to that place with child-free people. It's quite binary. People don't quite understand that there's like a whole different amount of experiences. And it's only because we don't have the representation yet. So the more we talk about it, the more we show, even in books, movies, everywhere, the more normal it becomes. So
I love it. There is so much advocacy around being in a minority and shaking that, because I mean, it's my experience being with a disability as well. Like, it's like it was always shown as this like sad poor me thing in movies, and it's the same thing that you're talking about. Like, it just takes someone or a group of people standing up and being like, wait, this is actually what my life looks like, and how lucky are we that we have social media to actually show the reality of it, which is so cool.
Actually, so the stats now is 1 in 4 women are not going to have kids.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, not. I think it's I'm not going to have kids before a certain age, but like, at my age, 30, 1 in 4 probably don't have children, maybe more actually. So
I must say, when the word minority came out of my mouth, I was like, I might not even be a minority, because I feel like I'm seeing a lot more people now.
Yeah,
so
I think it's technically, maybe it still is, but it feels, to me, I'm in the child-free world. All my content I'm getting served is child-free. So I'm like, it feels like everyone, which is lovely.
That's so nice. That's how you want it. To wrap up, what would you say to a woman in her 20s or however old they are listening and is thinking that they might want to be child-free or are maybe going to be child-free because of their circumstance?
And also, I'd probably group in there not sure, because I think a lot of people won't be sure. I just think give yourself time. And I know that everyone says, like, I mean, I was deciding when I was in my early 30s. So technically, my time was running out, and I'm so glad that I took the time to think about it. But also, in saying that, so this is more for the people on the fence, sometimes you just have to start walking a path, and when you start walking that path, it becomes a little bit more clear to you if it's the right path. So I was so stuck, and so then I just thought, I just actually have to choose one way or the other and start walking that path, and it's okay to change my mind. So that's kind of for if you're on the fence. Give yourself time to think about it, but also it's okay to start walking a path and then change your mind. That was quite freeing for me to just go, I just need to start living and stop being so stuck. For the people that are thinking they might not want to have kids, it is the coolest life. Like, yes, there's lots of challenges in terms of, you know, what people think of you and the stigma and all of that. But as, you know, we hear about motherhood as being like this thing that changes you and is so beautiful and is so life-giving, which I see because I've seen it in my sisters' lives, but also they've seen in my life that I feel like my world has opened up because now I have more time to try things. You know, if you're having a child, that's a lot of time you got to dedicate to them. As not having kids, I have more time to explore what I want to do with my life, which I think is a really cool thing to do. So like, cool. I love that. I just think, like, and my biggest thing is whatever choice you make, there's just so much beauty to be had. So I think people often think I'm saying my one's better. I'm like, absolutely not. Like, it's just different. It's better for me, but it's different. And both paths just have so much joy to be found in both. So, yeah, it's not a scary thing. And if you do want to join the Others Club and be part of the community, like, it's pretty cool.
I would love to. I feel like I've sat here this whole time beaming. I think I just always feel really proud of people who have, like, really, like, found themselves and their place in the world and, like, what feels right for them. Yeah. And I get so inspired by that. And I can, like, see it, like, beaming out of your face, which is the coolest thing ever. So I'm just really happy for you.
Thank you.
I'm very proud and, like, I admire the community you've built so much.
Thank you.
I really think it's so cool to give space to people who otherwise didn't really have that kind of space and community.
You're making me get teary.
Oh, sorry. But honestly, it is really cool, and I have massive FOMO.
Fair enough. It's pretty cool.
It's really cool, but thank you so much for coming on the Cyclist. I honestly have so many more questions, but maybe we'll have to do a
part two. Yeah.
Definitely. Thanks, Danni.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Cyclist.
To join the community, follow us at We Are The Cyclist.
Your cycle decoded.